Hi, Carl Valeri with Aviation Careers Podcast, and I do a lot of career coaching with people. And during these sessions, I help people figure out their finances to be able to pay for their actual flight training and how to move forward in their careers, and also get all the ratings and the certificates they need. But the other part of this now is the part where they go and become an airline pilot. And so many times we hear about airline pilots that are successful, they're making great money, but they're broke. So I started this series. It's called The Wealthy Pilot. Wealthypilot.com is actually one of the websites we have. I want to help people progress in their careers and build wealth to help them retire or help them get with their close to retirement or just getting started. I'm not a financial planner, but I have a lot of tools. For so many years, I've been helping people. We go over finances, like I said, in the career coaching. And that's great. And we figure out how much it costs to become a pilot. But now what? So my biggest advice to you, and this is how I've done it over the years, is to increase your wealth. It's really easy. Save and invest and let your wealth grow. That's really simple. It's not easy. Building wealth is simple but not easy. And really in this series, I just want to give you some tools to help you with building your wealth as a pilot later on in life. Because, we all know when you get to becoming a captain in an airline, captains make about $300,000 a year at a major airline. But what happens is we see some of these people having to reach out for help financially. Now, why is it? Again, that's why we're doing this. As a matter of fact, we have our recent recommended reading is called Millionaire Mission. It's the 9 steps, simple steps to level up your finances and build wealth. This is from the folks from the Money Guy show. It's not a sponsor of us, but it is one of the tools that I use to build wealth. So first of all, what can we do to move forward in our financial life as a pilot? Because a lot of times we're told how to get to where we want to go, and there's a lot of advice out there, but there's so much financial advice out there on the internet. Just go search, how to retire with $1 million or whatever. I mean, the easiest way is to become an airline pilot and go work for an airline that puts a lot of money into a 401k, right? But the most important tool that you can use is listen to podcasts like this one, and there's many other ones out there, but primarily listen to ones that focus on finances, because the finances for pilots aren't much different than others except for certain planning. And that's planning because we have something that's really interesting. We have a medical to keep ourselves in the cockpit. That's basically like our license. And we have to plan for the possibility of losing our license temporarily or permanently, more so than any other people. For instance, if I break my leg today, I'm not going to work for a while. It could be 3 months, 6 months, depending on how bad it is. I have a friend that really smashed up their ankle and was out of work for like 9 months. I mean, that's how much work they had to do on his ankle just so he could go fly. And people are like, well, why is that? Well, you got to be able to push on the rudder and press on the brakes to be able to fly. So make sure you listen to podcasts like this one and other ones that are financial podcasts to help you build wealth. Also read books. Like I said, I have in my recommended reading list, I do have a whole section now about building wealth as a pilot. And this applies to everybody, but I like the specific books and people that I look towards, because these are people that are more towards the high earning individual like an airline pilot would be. And just remember, even as a regional pilot, especially a regional captain, you're making more than the majority of people out there. So you want to be able to look towards resources that'll help you. And again, that Millionaire Mission book, that's a really good one. That Brian Preston is terrific. He's on themoneyguy.com. He did a great job. I listened to the audiobook, and I think that's terrific. Another thing I would also suggest to build financial wealth is find a career coach early, so that when you actually are moving forward in your career, you can do this in a more efficient manner, which will therefore save you money, instead of making all these big mistakes and listening to some person on YouTube who just started. It's like, hey, do this and you'll make a bunch of money, or do this and you'll get to your career goal in no time at all. As a matter of fact, one thing I would suggest, because I usually tell people anywhere from 3 to 5 years to get to your career goal, and 5 to 10 years to get to your ultimate career goal. That might be a captain as a wide body or captain on a narrow body in a major. That's the real numbers. And if someone's telling you different, a lot of times you hear people, oh, you can become a commercial pilot in a very short amount of time. Find out from them what they're really talking about, what a commercial pilot is. It's not really what the regular public thinks it is. So make sure you find a good career coach to help you out. It could be somebody at the high school. I mean, I'm here at Sun and Fun. We have lots of high school students that are helped here. If you're later in life, that's what we specialize in, is career changers. A lot of people have had successful businesses, successful practices. They actually come to us for help to move forward in their career as a pilot. This is usually a second career, an encore career. The other part of this too is, the only financing stuff that we do is planning how much it's going to cost to move forward as far as your career, right? And you're towards your job as a pilot. But the other part of this too is finding a financial coach. I know that when I had, and just full disclosure, I used to own a decent size international food trading business, and had a board of advisors there. They were my coaches, right? They would help me with the bigger decisions that I knew nothing about, how to get international lines of credit, those type of things. I had no idea what I was doing. That's why I went to those coaches. The other type of coach you can find is a financial advisor, but be slow in finding those financial advisors. There's a lot of folks that are on YouTube you can look at. I like to do, what I do is I listen to people usually for about a year, maybe longer, and we're going to put some of those suggestions here as far as building wealth. One of those things that I think is important is to build trust. And the way you build trust, listen to the message and make sure they have integrity. There's a lot of people with integrity out there, but you find out over years of them discussing. The other thing I really like too, I like the people that have a plan, and this plan works for a lot of people. It may not work for everybody, but they're very adamant about that plan and they believe in it. Those are the type of people I really like. They're not trying to scam you, that type of thing. There's a lot of scams out there, but there's also some very genuine people. Also, in your financial world, and this is something that I do consistently, is you need to review your progress. Just like you're reviewing your progress as a pilot, you're looking at how many hours you have, figure out where you are. Be careful when you start measuring yourself against other people. I know I changed careers and I went to become a regional airline pilot, and I was in my 30s, and I'll never forget this. I had a lady who was a mortgage broker. Her husband was an airline pilot, worked for the same airline I did, and I was having to disclose financial information or something like that, and she was shocked at how little money I had in my 401k. She's like, oh my God, that's all you have? And it was like what her husband would put in a month is what I had in a year. And my financial situation was just horrendous. Remember back then I was making, as much in a year as some pilots do in like 2 weeks now. So that's really, something you have to be careful of, is when you're actually reviewing your progress, do it with people that you trust. But also, again, proceed cautiously and slowly towards somebody that can help you in that financial world. And another thing to talk about too, and we're going to talk about some tools as far as building wealth as an actual pilot, but building wealth is boring. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? It's kind of like losing weight. I don't know if people have noticed, I've lost a lot of weight. I'm actually down 50 pounds from the time I got hired as an airline pilot. It's kind of interesting, or I should say as airline pilot with the current airline. But it's actually very interesting when you actually measure progress, and whether it's losing weight or building your wealth, that you actually get results, and you continually change your direction depending on what part of life you're in. There's so many things that come into play, and don't just look at a video online, because everything is very specific to you. That's why I suggest finding somebody who's a financial advisor, and there's many people out there that can help you there. The other thing too is I'm going to say this, and it's going to negate everything I just said, right? Try not to take financial advice from pilots. Usually pilots are very poor about that. Find out, first of all, what they've done in the past. Trust me, I have some really good people I work with. I know a guy who was a financial advisor, wound up working for the airlines, and he ran a flight school. He's actually now owns a really large flight school. He's a guy I work with, and I think his advice is terrific. But for the most part, everybody's willing to give you financial advice. Make sure you measure that advice and make sure it works for you. But some of the tools like I have for specifically how to build your wealth, well, one of them is just earn more money. I mean, that's a simple way. And that's where I did this one episode, is how to make $1 million as an airline pilot. There's people out there that do it. If you want to just take one of those things, then and use it, it'll help you build your wealth. One of the ways to do that, let's talk about a few that are in that, but go check it out. How to Make $1 million a year as an airline pilot. Just take one thing, it'll help you tremendously. Even if you can make an extra $100,000 a year and you stick that into some savings, that's a lot of money that you could save for your future wealth. Just make it, keep saving and keep moving forward with that. But a couple ways to build your wealth. Number one, upgrade to captain. Captains get paid more than first officers, and sometimes a lot more, right? And they have a lot more opportunities to make more money because a lot of times there's less captains out there than our first officers, and they have a lot more opportunity to work extra because if someone gets sick, there's something in open time, as they say, or there's extra trips they can pick up. Also, learn the system. Learn the system as far as what's going on. For instance, I'll never forget the first time I started flying with my current airline, someone said to me, when someone calls you, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone because they're wanting to see if you can come in and help them. Learn what works in that system. Sometimes, and they shouldn't do this, but there's a lot of people that remember names or have a list of people that they know they can call that'll help them out if they need to get a flight out on time. That's not the way the system works at a lot of airlines. They have specific rules as far as the union's concerned, but it does work that way. And that's going back to the union. Know your union contract, or your employment contract, and work that contract. Work it to the best of your ability. I mean, there's lots of different things out there that you can make both double time and triple time on, and it's pretty phenomenal. Another thing, obviously, work on your days off. That's another way to build wealth. Also, something else that people do, build a business on the side. That's a great way to build wealth, no matter what it may be. It could be real estate. It could be a flight school. It could be something where you're doing financial advice, that type of thing. It could be coaching like I do, whatever it may be. Get involved in something you really enjoy. Get a second job. Careful, though, with the second job, by the way. Make sure that you talk to your company that you work for, because if in flying, building wealth that way with a second job, that actually may or may not be a good thing. Because if you go out and work in the charter, and the charter is in a company that competes with your airline, you can get a lot of trouble. So make sure you talk to your boss first. Talk to your supervisor. Say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Also, fly more. That's a simple one. Go out and fly more. Fly more hours. We're paid by the hour as pilots, or paid by the day, depending on the segment, depending where you work. But if you fly more, you'll make more. It's that simple. So make sure you kind of use these tools. These are simple tools. The simplest thing is actually, save, invest, and consistently look at, your financial situation and moderate it and change it change that as you move forward in your path in your life. But let's help you move forward towards your aviation goal, but also help you build wealth. We don't do financial advice here, but we do know people that do. And I'm going to continually, in this new series that we have, Wealthy Pilot, wealthypilot.com, I'm going to put you towards some of those websites that I recommend as far as financial advice and what you can use, especially for high net worth individuals like airline pilots, or high earning individuals like airline pilots. So that can help you move forward in your career and in your life. Because, this podcast usually gets people to that point where they're a pilot with an airline, and then that's it. Then we're done. We don't get to talk to each other. And I kind of want to bring some of those people back. If you have a success story, please write us feedback at aviationcareerspodcast.com. If you want to be a guest on the show, by the way, you do not have to pay to be a guest on the show. There's a few, talking about scams on the internet, there's a few people out there that have paid to be a guest on our show, and I don't know who they paid, but you can be on the show for free. Just email me at feedback at aviationcareerspodcast.com. I'll send you a link on how to be a guest. And if you want some one-on-one coaching, if you want to figure out how to finance your future in aviation, talk to us. aviationcareerspodcast.com/coaching. You can get involved in both our one-on-one coaching. You can also get involved in our group mentorship, where we celebrate successes. We give you advice. We do things like interview prep. Our next one's going to be interview prep for United Airlines, as a matter of fact. But there's a lot of different things that you can do out there in your aviation career. But the most important thing is always taking a step every day to move forward. And that's why I want you to become that wealthy pilot. I don't want you to become the pilot making $500,000 a year, is broke, has 5 homes and 6 ex-wives and 3 airplanes and a yacht. I want you to be that wealthy individual that is able to retire at 65 and be able to enjoy their life and go on those cruises and enjoy vacations, not have to worry about the next paycheck. But to do that, you really do the same thing like you do here with trying to find a good career coach or get advice on the internet. Go out there and actually look at the person and watch them for a year, talk to them, interact with them for a long time, get to trust them, and only deal with those people you trust. But most importantly, do this for me. Take a step today to move forward in your career and in your life, both in your financial life and also towards your aviation career goals. And one thing I do know is you'll get to both of those goals, your financial goals and your aviation career goals, quicker than you think. We'll talk to you next episode. And also, let me know what you think about the Wealthy Pilot series that we've been doing. I really think it's important. That's a big part of our life that I don't talk about. I always hate talking about money, but it's something we have to talk about. So let me know what you think at feedback@aviationcareerspodcast.com. So please do that for me. Take one step today to move forward in your career and in your life, and you'll get there sooner than you think. Take care. Safe flying out there.